I want to help Ben like fully manifest whatever this thing is. There might be like cool and innovative products or a fad of some kind. But like over time, I just think it's fundamentally over and over again about humans. It like planted a seed at that time in my life that was, you never have to be stuck. If you're willing and have the energy and the courage to visualize and define what you really want. We're just a group of humans that were born into this life and are trying to enjoy our life, have beautiful and healthy relationships with the people around us, and be good people.
I have a master's degree in physiology, biomechanics, and human nutrition. I've spent the past 2 decades competing in some of the most masochistic events on the planet, from SealFit Kokoro, Spartan Agoge, and the world's toughest mudder, to 13 Ironman triathlons, brutal bow hunts, adventure races, spearfishing, plant foraging, freediving, bodybuilding, and beyond. I combine this intense time in the trenches with a blend of ancestral wisdom and modern science, searched the globe for the world's top experts in performance, fat loss, recovery, hormones, brain, beauty, and brawn to deliver you this podcast. Everything you need to know to live an adventurous, joyful, and fulfilling life. My name is Ben Greenfield. Enjoy the ride. Howdy, 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 ho. My friends, is a tasty, tasty Michelob Light, my beverage of choice when I'm podcasting. No, I'm just kidding. It's Zevia soda with stevia in it. It's actually pretty good. I should get them to sponsor this show because I drink so damn much of it. I actually interviewed their CEO sometime back. His name's Paddy. You could go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/Paddy, Paddy, and listen to my interview with Paddy from Zevia, the soda that doesn't give you non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. At least that's how I think they should label their soda. Anyways, today I had one of my favorite friends and fellas on the face of the planet come to my house for the weekend and a podcast with me. He's really cool. His name is Angelo Kiel. He's actually the co-founder and the COO of my company, Kion. I guess I should say our company, Kion, now that I've said that. Angelo is just a fantastic guy and a wealth of very interesting information. We're all about information on these shows. And speaking of Kion, that's what this show is actually brought to you by. You know, I don't talk about this a lot, but there's this stuff that you can squirt into your mouth, insert dirty joke here, that really, really amps up your immune system activity. There's a lot of books about it, like The Cure in the Cupboard is probably the best book about it. Kills off yeast, bacteria, fungus, parasites. It's one of my friend Paul Chek's favorite little remedies for keeping the gut healthy. And it's called oil of oregano. A wild Mediterranean oil of oregano harvested from Turkey with a carvacrol content of over 80%, which is what we have in ours at Kion, is the way to go if you want to stay healthy, especially if you travel a lot. This stuff's like, it makes your immune system unstoppable. There you go. How about that for coining a phrase? I'm coining phrases right and left these days. You can get it and any of the fine supplements we have at Kion if you just go to getkion.com. That's getkion.com. And the discount code that you can use over there is very simple. It's BGF10. Getkion.com, BGF10. This podcast is also brought to you by photobiomodulation. Photobiomodulation, light that you can shine in your crotch. It's more than that, though. It's more than light that you can shine on your crotch. They've done literally thousands of studies on the use of red light and near-infrared light therapy. They've found that it can increase collagen production and skin health. It can reduce pain and inflammation. If you got a sore joint, you shine it on. It can cause a nitric oxide release and mitochondrial biogenesis for better athletic performance. It can increase your testosterone production, hence the part about shining it on your naked crotch. And there's this company called Juve that makes the exact photobiomodulation that I use every day. You actually get to get a Joovv along with a nice little bonus gift they're going to throw in there. And this is the stuff that's clinically proven wavelengths of light. Very high power, so you only need like a 10 to 20 minute dose. Boom, done. Don't waste your time. You can get the Joovv with the gift at joovv.com/Ben. That's Joovv, joovv.com/Ben. All right, let's go talk to Angelo.
Check, check. Mic check, 1, 2. Mic check, 1, 2. Yo, Angelo, could you get me a little mic check?
If I didn't have a mic check, I wouldn't have a check at all. Check 1, check 2, check 3.
Wiki, wiki, wiki.
Yeah. Okay.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness.
Representing Angelo Kion.
Spokane.
Dude, we literally just got out of the frigid Spokane River. That was fun.
That was fun.
Did you like today's workout?
Dude, it was amazing. That was like, I guess my question, I love the workout. My question is like, how good is that for me and how is that good for me?
I have no clue.
Okay.
It was kids having fun. Now, what we did for those of you listening in is Angelo, who I'll introduce to you in a second if you have no clue who this cat is, aside from his mad beatboxing skills. He and I went down this morning, Saturday morning. His family's visiting me here in Spokane because Angelo lives in Boulder, where our Kion offices are, because he's the COO and the co-founder of Kion, where we make all things wonderful, magical unicorn tears and formulations and things to make your life beautiful. But I digress. Angelo came up from Boulder to Spokane with his beautiful family, and then I ripped him out of bed this morning, and we went down to the Spokane Frisbee Golf Course. We have actually a really, really cool Frisbee golf course here. And rather than just playing Frisbee golf, the way I do Frisbee golf is you either do 10 burpees, 20 push-ups, or 30 air squats at each hole. And we played all 18 holes. It's like an hour and a half long workout. And you get a mix of, like we were talking about during Frisbee golf, like the primal skill of hurling an object towards a target and the hand-eye coordination, and of course the fun. We can't strip the fun out of it. And then you get, of course, the calisthenics, the cardio, the step count. I think we both got our 10,000 steps in already. And then we did our cryo. We went and jumped in the cold Spokane River afterwards. And since it's 420, we had the guys hotboxing in their cars, asking us if we...
For us.
Yeah.
We didn't do it, but they did it for us.
No, for us. Exactly. No, we don't smoke weed on 420. We go play Frisbee and jump in the river. So anyways, though, that was the workout.
Yeah, I loved it. I guess after I do workouts like that, I wonder, like, did I work hard enough? Because I just enjoyed the whole thing so much. And I have this idea I need to, like, suffer more.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like when I go out and play tennis, like our family plays tennis on Sundays now. And my kids are getting good enough to where it's actually, you know, you're moving around, you're chasing down balls. Or what's another example? Like when I was in Kentucky and we were waiting for breakfast to be served at the cafeteria that we all went to. They had a basketball court outside, so Dr. Dawson and I went outside. We just like shot hoops and played 1-on-1 and played some pig and like jumped around and you're working out and you feel great afterwards. But dude, there's something about getting out of the stale gym environment and counting reps and counting sets and just playing.
Playing is what it is.
Yeah,
I like the playing.
It's play. It's primal play. There's a guy named Daryl Edwards who has a whole program called Primal Play. You just go out to the park and crawl and jump around and hang from trees, and it's pretty fun.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, Angelo, there's a lot of people listening in right now who are probably, because they listen to this show, kind of sort of familiar that I have this supplements company called Kion, but they don't know a lot of what goes on behind the scenes there, and they also don't know about you. And I like to get interesting people on this podcast. Like, I didn't just want to get you on the show because you're involved with Kion or something like that. Like, you have a lot of cool things that you've done that go beyond your mad beatboxing skills, and I think you've got a lot of interesting insight for the audience. And I do want to dive today into kind of what you see behind the scenes in the supplement and the health industry, how integral a role you see things like company culture and, the health of employees and things like that playing in terms of building, a business that can change the world. You also tie family and fitness and all of that into the whole mix. And so I'm excited to have you on just to talk about a lot of the things that I think you can bring to the audience. So
thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited to share anything that might be of value.
Yeah, and I'm going to taunt you over here while I sip coffee because you're out. And
It's decaf, man.
Yeah, it is decaf. I blend my decaf. I'm on this kick where I blend decaf coffee with Ceylon cinnamon, sea salt, and organic stevia, and that's it. It's super clean. There's no calories in it. There's no magical brain bending qualities to it whatsoever. So probably most people will find it really boring, but it satiates my appetite.
Yeah, it's rich and earthy and
earthy.
Do you ever do chicory stuff?
I have
talked about that. Yeah,
I have. Yeah. Some, of course, all the carnivore folks will step back in shock because chicory has all its natural built-in plant defense mechanisms. But actually, a lot of people who don't do well with coffee, they do really well with chicory. I think it's a company called Dandy Tea. They make like a chicory root based tea that's also like a kind of a liver cleanse because it's got dandelion root and stuff in it. So I don't do a lot of chicory root though, but it's a good coffee substitute. Kind of sort of tastes like shitty coffee. Mm-hmm. So it's perfect.
I never really try to replace coffee with anything, so
it's black.
I don't do it.
It's dark brown water, kind of like coffee is, I guess. So it's got that going for it. Tell me about where you're from, man. Like originally.
I was born in Wimberley, Texas, outside of Austin. And I was born to very hippie parents. They had a natural health food store and a natural health food restaurant in Wimberley, Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually didn't know your parents had a full-on... I knew they were kind of like hippie in the natural foods, but I didn't know they had a whole store.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is all okay to talk about. It's so long past. But yeah, basically, they had this natural health foods. My dad before that was like a big ginseng and botanical distributor. Like he had like his own business. He's kind of like a wheeler and dealer entrepreneur type guy. And then he had gotten into, they bought this natural health food store. And then that was right at the time when Whole Foods, I think they like raised money. They built like these big stores and like all the smaller co-ops kind of went out of business in the Austin area. And my parents started this restaurant to compensate for that. And then actually Whole Foods came and offered my dad to come and do the first like restaurant for Whole Foods and partner and not have to leave his store and his restaurant in Wimberley. And he did that. And that's when we moved to Austin.
Okay. So it's not like you're bitter about Whole Foods and you never go there because it's an evil giant corporation. It instead served as like an employment opportunity for your dad.
It was an original, like my dad was a partner in that, the whole restaurant deal side of that. I mean, I don't know exactly how well all that went. My dad didn't go to Whole Foods ever again after that.
Oh,
But my mom and I did. I remember going there as like a little kid. I mean, we were pescatarians.
Well, maybe the way your dad felt about Whole Foods is the same way Whole Foods now feels about Amazon, right? Like it's just we keep stepping up the plate and
totally
by bigger and bigger corps.
Yeah.
Growing up in that environment, did you get access to a lot of these natural compounds and herbs? Like, were there situations where instead of using antibiotics, your parents?
I was raised with it. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is a hot subject just of recent with like vaccination type stuff. Later on, I was vaccinated, but like as a kid, my parents didn't vaccinate me. We never went to the doctor. It was all like botanicals and herbs and vitamins, all natural. I mean, we went to Whole Foods. I never got to eat like. I was the kid that would go to school. I'm not saying this is the right diet, but I would go to school with like either grilled salmon or like grilled tofu and onion, like on like or
a kid who nobody wanted to trade lunches with. Yeah. That's like my kids. They go to school with sardines and like jerky, but it's not regular jerky. It's like pemmican and rendered fat and avocado slices. Yeah, nobody wants my kids' lunch.
I just wished I could just have Gushers, and like no. Mm-hmm. Nothing.
Yeah, dude, our upbringings were so opposite, because I grew up on, Godfather's Pizza, and then eventually when my parents decided to get healthy, Papa Murphy's Take and Bake pizza, and like iceberg lettuce and ranch dressing, and
I was specifically like never. I was like not allowed to have iceberg lettuce because it was grown in the same fields and would be like so full of pesticides. My parents wouldn't let me eat it ever.
People don't realize it's like nature's bioremediant. Like it's just there to soak up toxins. And my mom would fill up the whole backseat of the Suburban on 29-cent hamburger, 39-cent cheeseburger day with bags and bags and bags from McDonald's, and that would just be lunch all week long. We would just have giant bags of the greasy white paper in the fridge.
We literally could not have had more opposite dietary guidelines as children then.
And it's kind of funny now. Now I'm almost like more extreme.
You are more extreme than me now. Yeah.
It's kind of funny. And Angelo and I will talk about this more for those of you listening in. But like, we'll go to health expos or supplement expos and stuff and walk around, and like, I'm like extremely, extremely attentive to the labels now. And you know, I know that you are as well. But I'm almost to the point now where I just like don't even like try or touch anything that's even remotely, and it's shocking how many of these so-called health foods have, you know, not just like the keto donuts we were talking about last night with the erythritol and everything in them. That's just bloating and gas, but so many of these, you know, quote natural and artificial flavored compounds are just rife.
Yeah, I think like my overall approach, if there's something really good I got from my family, and that is just trying to get as much from the food I eat and taking a really minimalist approach to food. Like just don't, and I think that's kind of an interesting way that I ended up in a supplement company with you, because I took supplements and vitamins as a child, but it was always like in a very minimalist approach.
Yeah.
And food in a minimalist approach, and like not getting, like I don't get really excited about like keto donuts. I need some like special sweet, and because then I end up with erythritol and then it makes me feel sick. It's like, if I make it too complex, then it ends up having all these side effects that make me feel worse.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just eat a little bit of sugar.
I did a lot of ibuprofen and Advil and espresso. Right.
As a kid.
Yeah. Because I started getting like working out and stuff, and I would get sore. And you know, mom took ibuprofen, so I take ibuprofen. And dad had a coffee shop, so I drink a lot of espresso. So those were my supplements: was caffeine and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs.
Yeah, I was like, I got a headache. They would never, or like I wasn't allowed to have ibuprofen. I had to drink water. You just need to drink more water.
Yeah,
that was always the solution.
That's funny, dude. It's so opposite. But in Texas, did you wind up going to high school? Like after your dad kind of got out of the natural food store and got involved with Whole Foods?
Yeah. So basically, my parents both ended up being like small business owners. My mom an accountant, my dad like an IT guy. Actually, he got totally out of that and got into like IT consulting. But I would say like overall, the rest of my childhood, quick summary would just be I was kind of an alternative, weirder kid. I mean, I had like these hippie parents, but they
obviously,
but they raised me like in like a nicer school district, and so just like found my way to like how to fit in the world while having like kind of a weirder background. Always did really well in school. And then around high school, I got into a lot of trouble, tons of trouble. Kicked out of school, arrested, just like
what kind of trouble?
I mean, like possession of alcohol, smoking weed at school, getting kicked out of school.
Ibuprofen?
No, it wasn't ibuprofen. Getting kicked out of school, getting put in like but before that, I've been like top performing student, you know? So I think I was just, you know, if there's a theme, maybe it's like I was really into people, and it's an exciting time for like people and social stuff at that high school time. And I just got really into all the social dynamics and fun and like experimenting. And so it got me into a lot of trouble, got me kicked out of school. And then, I mean, probably a really transformative thing was when I was 16, I had a terrible LSD experience.
Really?
And
a lot of people now are kind of like interested in LSD. Like I've even talked on the show before about it, but like when I wrote my first fiction book, like I would write a ton on Fridays, and every Friday I would microdose with LSD. I'd take like 10 to 20 micrograms, and then I'd get the merging of the left and right hemispheres of the brain, and I could just churn out creative work that had a little bit of the analytical portions of the hero's journey. Like I found it to be really helpful especially for writing fiction, and I'll still occasionally use it. Like if I have a long day where I have to power through a lot of creative work, like I'll use small amounts of LSD. I've never actually tripped on it. Like the most LSD I've ever taken has been like 60 micrograms, which is still nowhere near like 100 microgram plus trip dose. So a lot of people are kind of interested in LSD. What was your experience with it?
This was not that context. This was more like super irresponsible.
You were writing about princesses and clouds?
This is like seriously irresponsible 16-year-olds taking way too much, didn't know what they were doing, wrong place, wrong time, being around the wrong people, basically upsetting these people. I don't really actually know the whole story, but whatever happened, they stabbed me multiple times and nearly beat me to death and left me like in this.
But you were on LSD.
I was on LSD when this happened, like on a like in a drainage gutter, kind of like in a parking lot. And they found me, and I was like naked and nearly beaten to death and stabbed. We don't really know exactly what happened. And yeah, so that was me getting in trouble. So not like mild, like getting in trouble, like scaring the bejesus out of my parents.
Right.
And that was when I was 16. So kind of following that, then I had like a lot of like therapy, personal development work to kind of do going out of that. And I ended up moving out of my house when I was 17 and started supporting myself, doing like manual labor stuff like painting, but also doing a lot of music. I discovered this beatboxing skill. I was getting paid commercially to do like beatboxing. Mm-hmm. And I was a gigging musician.
Like for actual commercials or
like Kinko's. I was on the Kinko's hold music for like a long time. Paper. Yeah, it was like Kinko's. I don't remember what it was. It was something like that, and like a Chili's thing. And I got like TV. I got just like gigs doing that stuff. And I was playing a lot of drums and music and making money doing that. And I was like became pretty independent in high school, like pretty distant from my parents. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that you asked what was high school like.
Did you also like? Did you get out of like the whole like hippie food scene and health food and like change up your diet and things like that too as part of the rebellion?
Yeah, I started just as like probably like teenage kids like that had cars. We'd like drink alcohol and go to McDonald's and go to Taco Bell and like eat bad food, but never like that. I still don't think I've ever had a Twinkie. I don't think I've ever had bologna. There's all kinds of stuff I
should take you to Carl's Jr. today. Apparently they just launched their CBD burger.
Oh yeah.
It's today only. Well, today when we're recording, it's 420. So
yeah.
You can't eat just one, literally. I bet. So after high school, did you wind up studying in university?
I did. So it's kind of an interesting turn then. So I was always like a really high performing student, but after all that, it kind of like blew up my whole world. And so I ended up going to this school in Austin where I went to high school, called St. Edward's University. It's like a smaller private liberal arts Catholic school. It's the same order as like Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. And I took this, I'd also gotten into like this Christian church, basically, at the very end of high school, that was really into meditation, or this thing called centering prayer, which is like a meditation. It's like a Christian it's basically like just silent prayer, but it kind of looks like meditation, but it's more like within a Christian context.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
And like I grew up in a Christian household, attending church, but I've never heard of centering prayer.
It's cool. I'll turn you on to it, man.
Tell me a little bit more about it.
It's kind of funny. We haven't talked about it before.
Yeah. What exactly is it?
Well, I guess just like the basic tradition is, I have all kinds of things to talk about overall, like kind of religion stuff, because that's what I ended up studying in college. But basically, there's a really strong tradition from the early Desert Fathers. I don't know if you know about that, but as Christianity suddenly became like popularized in the 3rd and 4th century, there were lots of Christians who didn't see it as like a thing that made sense to be super popularized and kind of like not commercialized, but like that lots of people could do it. It required more like ascetic lifestyle, so people would go into the desert to live like Jesus during the 40 days and 40 nights, which is kind of like the beginning of the monastic tradition. Mm-hmm. And in that, there was a lot of just silent prayer. People would just sit in silence rather than like praying to God and like asking for God to help you with something. You sit and you wait for God to speak to you, for example. And, which they see all kind of like biblical tradition, things that Jesus said about that. But that grew and was really a large part of the monastic tradition for Orthodox and Catholic churches. There's a ton of literature around it. I don't know if you've heard of St. John of the Cross. Mm-hmm. There's a really famous book called The Cloud of Unknowing. That's a lot of like medieval monastic writings from the Christian faith that are all they're all very much based in like sitting in quiet contemplation. It looks just like meditation from other traditions.
That's interesting. You know, we're sitting in my office right now, and on my bookshelf up there, I have a whole bunch of books on the left about the spiritual disciplines, which are kind of, you know, high up on my priority list to study, and that I'm in the midst of getting into right now. And two of them are silence and solitude, and I haven't yet come across something like centering prayer, but it sounds very tied into just the whole practice of meditation, or even like Native American sit spots, or this idea of just being with yourself and your own thoughts. But in the case of centering prayer, you're waiting for some kind of a message.
Yeah, well, so centering prayer is like a modern, then there was like a big kind of, there were a lot of like Catholic monastic priests in the 20th century. Are you familiar with like Thomas Merton? Mm-hmm. So like lots of people kind of in that tradition of Thomas Merton. There's another guy named Father Thomas Keating. He actually just passed away in this last year, who really helped develop the movement, I don't know, in the last 60 or 70 years of kind of bringing that back to Christian culture. What had been a really big root or some believe was a root of the Christian faith around silence. I think it's similar to those, but and I'm one who doesn't see all religions as kind of like the same. I see them as actually different and having different belief structures, and it's not, that doesn't mean, and I'm not saying in that one is better than another, but they represent different things and have different focus. And so I would just say that like there's definitely a Christian theology that's part of centering prayer that is different from like Buddhist, I don't know, like Zen meditation, because there's just a different framework about how they see, how you see the world and what you're looking for. In centering prayer, it's basically about sitting in silence and seeking relationship with God. Okay. So I got turned on to that. And so then I was like, wow. And I was raised non-religious, like totally non-religious. So then I went to this Catholic school, and then you had to take a religious studies class. So I took Intro to New Testament in my first semester, and it was like the coolest class I'd ever taken. But it was kind of mind-blowing cool, because I just thought like, oh, if I'm in like a Catholic school and they're going to teach something like Intro to New Testament, it's going to be almost like indoctrination. Like they're going to try to get me to like, it's going to be like Sunday school, you know, like teaching me about all these things. But no, it was like the historical critical method where you break down and analyze the exact historical context of when and how religions came to be, what the writings were. And basically it just like, I would say for most people who grew up in a normal Christian context, it would be very upsetting to their faith, because it would be kind of confusing, because there's like, you just learn all the details of like how the books were written and how the apostles were, maybe not actually the people that actually wrote. It wasn't actually like, you know, John that wrote the book of John. It was a community 60 years after Jesus' death who wrote that, who had really different influence and insight, et cetera. And so I was just like, whoa, like this is crazy, like how all these things come together. And so, in college, I ended up being a religious studies major, which I would have raised, like my parents were like, what? Like we raised you non-religious, and now suddenly you're like, you know, into this church and you're like studying, you know, religion. Like it was, they thought it was a very odd. It was an odd turn.
Is that what you wound up graduating with, was religious studies?
Yeah. I ended up doing a major in religious studies. I did a minor in music and a minor in philosophy. Yeah.
What'd you do after that?
So the other main thing I think that like really came up when I was in college was I got really into languages, which I'd never studied before. And I got really into, service. So I started doing these service projects. I started going to India, to like do these service projects with an orphanage there, and develop like a program to send kids, students from the university, to run summer camps there. I did similar stuff in Central America. I got into learning. I realized like that I could learn Spanish. I got suddenly really good at Spanish. And so when I graduated, I actually really, so also when I was studying religion, I learned Arabic, I studied Islam, I studied Hinduism. I learned like a bunch. I studied Koine Greek too.
Arabic's a really hard language, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't take like multiple.
It's kind of shit that gets you hired by the CIA.
And I didn't know. I was like, what am I going to become? Am I going to become like do I want to be like a diplomat or an academic or like what? I mean, all I knew was that I was really, really interested in humans and how humans told each other stories and tried to live better lives. I would say like, that's the theme. Like, yeah. And I was really interested in that more than anything else. So, I also studied Koine Greek, you know, which the New Testament's written in, got really good in Spanish. And so when I graduated, I was like, I want to go for sure overseas, because I'd been doing a lot of overseas stuff. And so I moved to France And actually, right before I moved to France, I met who's now my wife. She went with me, which is kind of a whole nother interesting story. I think it's most interesting around if we talk about visualization and manifesting what you most want out of your life. That's probably like one of my most unique stories and like proofs of how powerful being extremely clear about what you want in your life is and how you can get exactly what you want.
Tell me
that story.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess, I actually had been doing like an internship in France, and I had met who's now my wife, like a few months before, but we didn't really know each other that well. And she's a few years older than me too, so she was immediately like ignoring me. I wrote this song though that really clearly described. It's actually called like the wife song. So I was in a hip hop band then. I was a rapper in a hip hop band, like bass, drums, guitar, keys, kind of like Tribe Called Quest, but very like jazz players, all my best friends. We were pretty successful in Austin. I wrote this song about manifesting the perfect wife, and it literally in detail described exactly what I wanted the relationship to be like how it would really function. And it wasn't like a bubble gummy, like we're going to be the perfect fit for each other and be together forever. It was more like, I'm looking for someone who wants to be really real and who I will struggle to be real with too, that I will struggle to accept and not try to force to be a certain way, et cetera. And like a pretty, I think a surprisingly adult and mature perspective for me at like 22, 23. So I wrote that song when I was in France. I came back. I performed it for the first time. I literally had to read it off my computer. My now wife came to that show, had never heard us play music. That was the first time she'd ever seen us play music, played that song that night. The next day I got invited to go over to her house to like go watch a movie, and we started dating, and that like literally is my wife now. I mean,
before that, had you kind of been into manifestation?
Yeah. I mean, well, so after that kind of serious acid trip stabbing thing, I was in the hospital. I got turned on to this book called Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain.
You mentioned this one to me a few months ago.
Yeah.
What was it called? Creative Visualization?
Yeah, by Shakti Gawain.
Cool. By the way, for those of you listening in, show notes are at bengreenfieldfitness.com/Angelo. Just like it sounds, ANGELO, bengreenfieldfitness.com/Angelo. I'll link to anything like that we bring up. So creative visualization, what's it about?
It is about visualizing exactly what you want in your life and doing it like in a distinctly visual way. And so I got that book when I was literally actually I think I just got out of the hospital. I've been in the hospital for a while, and I just got out. One of my friend's parents gave it to me, and I started reading it. And at first I was like, why'd they give me this book? It seems like kind of woo-woo, like I don't really get it, and I started reading it, and I don't think I realized until probably 10 years later how much that book influenced me and my thinking and my openness to having the courage to not complain about what's going on right now and not be confused about what's going on right now, and to actively seek to design and visualize what I really want from my life and to take the risk to try to go and get it and do it. Because I think in that type of like situation right then, when you're like so down and you made such a big mistake and everyone's disappointed in you, you're in trouble with the law, you're just like terrible. Like I mean, the feedback I was getting was like people were worried about me, but it was like, you're not good. I think it like planted a seed at that time in my life that was, you never have to be stuck.
Yeah.
If you're willing and have the energy and the courage to visualize and define what you really want. And so I didn't start like hardcore visualizing at that point in my life. But when I see like how I got out of that hole and somehow ended up going to college, finding, being successful in college. I didn't mention this before, but I ended up being the valedictorian of my college too. And developed all these cool programs, overseas service programs. Like I really like flourished in college.
Well, that's part of the thing with visualization or manifestation is you begin to do it, and whether it's closing your eyes in a meditative setting and imagining and bringing to life, the tiny intricate details of whatever, maybe let's say, you want to start a coffee shop. So you like see yourself, in your apron there at the coffee shop, hunched over the espresso maker, and you have a team of baristas around you and someone standing there at the counter ordering. And the thing about it is sometimes you don't even know you're taking some of the steps towards making that happen, but you're programming yourself subconsciously, and you're almost taking those steps whether or not you know it. That's a big part of the book I'm bringing my boys through right now, called The Master Key, which is like one of the original correspondence courses in meditation. Is it just teaches you how to visualize in intricate detail what it is that you want to achieve, and then it delves into how, whether you like it or not, like you're programming your subconscious when you do that, and you begin to take steps that you might not even be aware of towards achieving that.
Yeah, I think that alone is really powerful. There's even more you can do too. Like once you start to harness the power of visualization and being really clear about what you want, there's more you can do to like strategize how to get there and like how to take more action and execute better. But simply alone having that vision and being willing to like kind of program your consciousness around that, then just sets up all your decisions within that context. Whereas if you always think I'm stuck, or you always think I'm always going to do this thing, like you're not even going to imagine that you could take a different step. So every time that like an option comes up to, exercise or not exercise, drink water or not drink water, you're just like, oh, I'm lazy. I don't, like, you just fall into the other decisions. Yeah.
It's almost like a filter, or let's even say like exercise doesn't really serve that purpose, right? Like let's say, for example, I don't know, you, like let's use the coffee shop analogy that you want to build, is going to take X number of hours per day. Well, maybe someone invites you to CrossFit, right? And you have that option to do whatever, 5 40-minute CrossFit workouts a day. And you might instead subconsciously make the decision to do like the 10-minute burpee workout in your room, just because you have that filter that says, okay, I need X amount of time for this. So this is the decision I'm going to make.
Which I think really just drives home the point of not only like being willing and open to have the vision for what you want, but also taking the time just to really evaluate what's the current vision that you have. What's the current belief patterns that you have? Yeah. Because they're showing up in like all of my actions every day. Yeah. Like they're just playing out all the time. So if I start to feel like, oh, like what's up with these actions? I need to like manifest this other vision. It's like just taking the time to even see like, what is the vision that I'm holding right now that these actions are playing out from?
Yeah. Do you like how all my analogies, by the way, are based around either coffee or exercise?
Yeah, I do. I'm used to it.
Immediately identify my two passions in life. So you wound up getting married to Carrie.
Yeah, I wound up getting married to Carrie.
And starting a family right away, or?
So there's like a 5-year thing in between graduating college, moving to France, launching a satellite campus for a university in France, getting really close with Apple leadership. I became fluent in French over there. Apple France ran Apple India. I got a job in India. I moved to India, did a bunch of business development and training work over there. Then finally moved to Boulder. Honestly, had like a really powerful retreat when I was in India that helped me have a breakthrough to realize that I wanted Carrie to be the focus of my life and family to be the focus of my life. Immediately quit the job the next day. You might start to find I'm impulsive sometimes. I immediately quit my job the next day, moved to Boulder, and immediately got married and started having a family. And that was in 2012.
So in 2012, what were you working at in Boulder? Like, what was your job?
I moved to Boulder with no job, but I had made good friends in India, these Swedes who had like the biggest software outsourcing company. And so I launched that in the US and started doing like selling and developing software projects. And then I got turned on to some family-run businesses. One in behavioral healthcare. It was basically like a young adult mentoring program, and the other was this like a creative incubator. I started consulting with them to help develop the whole creative incubator program, and via that, they then brought me on ultimately to help. They were actually trying to like build and sell one of the companies. And so they brought me in to help manage that and run with like due diligence. And it was really great for me because as you can tell, like I said, I studied religious studies. It's like, well, how'd this guy end up with like business chops?
Yeah.
Like I learned all the sales and human stuff, but that experience really helped me develop really super solid financial chops. And then I ended up running this behavioral healthcare company that was about based out of Boulder. It's like 50 employees, multi-million-dollar company, trying to help them develop and grow and sell that. And around December 2016, I realized I wanted to move on and do something different. I left that and I thought, hey, I just need some like time to figure out what I'm going to do next. And within 2 weeks, I got this call about if I could help look at this project with this guy, Ben Greenfield.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, Ben Greenfield, which I think
That's make the biggest mistake of your life.
But I do think that's kind of like one of the most interesting things about like the origin story of our relationship or the origin story of Kion. You had already envisioned what Kion was going to be before that. But I almost wonder, like, if your listeners, if they'd be surprised to hear, like, this guy didn't even know who Ben was before, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And so I got turned on to you, and I went to the website, and this is the website, anyone who's been following you a while, like 3 years ago, like, it was kind of ghetto.
Do you mean BenGreenfieldFitness.com?
BenGreenfieldFitness.com.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, that entire website was originally just a triathlon blog.
Yeah.
It was me traveling around the world, doing triathlons, and like writing race reports. Like, here's the energy bar that I ate before this race. And at mile 13, I decided to really put the hammer down, and I ventured beyond my lactate threshold, which could have been a mistake because I think I got a little glycogen depletion at that point. And I eventually wound up crossing the finish line with a big smile on my face. But my tire PSI being at 95 instead of 100 probably held me back a little bit during, especially those flatter, and like that was the blog. Like it was just like me writing about like exercise.
You make fun of it, but people love it.
Yeah, yeah. Like it wasn't even Ben. Like I bought BenGreenfieldFitness.com like several years ago. But it was like Ben. It still exists. So it was like BenGreenfieldTry.blogspot.com, and it was just like triathlon adventures around the world with Ben. And yeah, I mean, like you know, we've brought on an SEO team and we've like made it into a big boy website with a nice landing page and it looks nice and everything. But yeah, for a long time it was pretty ghetto.
So anyway, so I go to that page. And I asked a couple of friends who were in Boulder, and you're pretty big in Boulder because there's like
there's a lot of people in spandex who like to exercise in Boulder.
Yes.
Exactly.
And people were like, Ben Greenfield. And so I had a couple of friends who were like, just could not, they're just like loved you and obsessed with you. And I was like, wow, I should take like a hard look at this. And so, you know, I looked at what the business plan was and kind of what the ideas were and flew up here and met with you. And I think kind of going back to this sense of I'm really interested in humans and I'm really interested in helping humans like fully manifest themselves and just live the best lives they can. I was personally less interested in, oh, this is a good business plan or this is a bad business plan or this guy knows a lot about health and fitness or these things. I was like, I just like really liked you. I was like, this dude is, you, Ben, are so unique and so passionate and so authentic, like just on your own terms. And I think like I liked that. And I was like, I want to help Ben like fully manifest whatever this thing is for that alone, because there will be like cool and innovative, and this might come up when we talk about products. There might be like cool and innovative products or a fad of some kind, or someone who's like hot for a while because they said the right things or got on the right shows or these different types of things. But like over time, I just think it's fundamentally over and over again about humans. Mm-hmm. This whole thing, business, supplements, this phone in front of me, it's just, we act like it's something more, but it's just humans like doing things in the world together. And I was just like intrigued by how unique you do it. Mm-hmm. And how much I think potential you had if I could like support you in it, and then the possibility of like all the other unique people we could bring into it and make something really special.
Right.
Hey, I want to interrupt today's show in case you're pantless or shortless or shirtless and you need some athletic gear that is absolutely mind-blowingly killer in the way that it fits you. There's this company called Viore. They make these wonderful athletic fit clothes with four-way stretch with quick drying properties. They're sustainably made from recycled plastics, many of their shorts. They're good for surfing, paddling, training, yoga, a cocktail party, a board meeting, depending on how casual said board meeting or cocktail party is. They designed Viore to take a new perspective on performance apparel. It doesn't look like traditional workout gear. It looks sexy. Looks good, looks styling, looks fashionable. You don't look like a meathead when you're wearing this stuff. And they just launched their new Core short and their Banks short. I have both. I love them. I wear this stuff all the time. I don't just talk about it. I wear it. I put it on my body. And you get a 25% discount on everything from Viore. And Viore is offering you a special offer. Here's what it is. You get 25% off your purchase if you use code BEN25 at VioreClothing.com. But Viore is not spelled the way that the average logical person would expect it to be spelled. No, it's spelled V-U-O-R-I, Viore, V-U-O-R-I, clothing.com. Code BEN25 at checkout. This podcast is also brought to you by the Halo Sport, which is the neural headset that puts your brain into a state of hyper learning or what's called neuroplasticity. It's like a headset, looks like a pair of Dre phones. I think that's what they're called. You put it on your head. Because it's a headset, and you can listen to extremely high quality audio, but more importantly, it uses transcranial direct stimulation to amplify the activity of your motor neurons. And now they've got the U.S. military using it, Olympic teams. You may have seen like the Golden State Warriors were implementing this thing, the other teams of the NBA, the NFL, the UFC, the PGA Tour. I sent one to one of my friends, and he put it on before workout, and he was really sore afterwards because he was using all these muscles he hadn't tapped into before. You could use it before you play a musical instrument because it enhances your learning, puts you in a state of, like I said, hyper learning, and it's painless. Feels good. Feels like a head massage. Anyways, they just announced their fully upgraded Halo Sport 2, and it is pre-selling now for less than half the price of the original version, just $279. That's a killer deal. If you use code Greenfield at checkout, you got to use code Greenfield. So go to haloneuro.com. That's HALONEURO, haloneuro.com, and use code Greenfield.
Right, which is actually what I want to get into, like how we've actually done that and some of the things you've learned along the way. And part of that weirdness, honestly, is that's the way I've always been. Even being homeschooled, growing up, which of course just turns you into someone who thinks outside the box, or who at least cares a little bit less what other people think about you because you don't grow up with as much peer pressure. I was like a homeschooler, but I was also a weird homeschooler. Mm-hmm. I was just like totally independent and solve problems my own way, and didn't really even do a huge amount of formal book work as much as my parents would just like hand me books, and I'd figure out how to study the subject on my own, and just grew up. Yeah, I've always been a little weird in that way, and I don't want to talk a lot about me because a lot of you listening in, you might not know that Angelo interviewed me about the whole Kion backstory, about my vision for Kion, about how I wanted to launch this company that would really supply people with everything that they needed to fulfill this adventurous life, everything from mind and body and spirit optimization, the best supplements in the world, the best formulations in the world, the best bars and coffees, everything that we're doing now. But I don't want to exhaust you with that story too much, because Angelo and I actually had this long interview where we talked a lot about the backstory of Kion from my end, and I'll link to that in the show notes. If you go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/Angelo, we even video recorded the whole thing, so you can watch us chat at each other and try and sit up like big boys. Whereas right now we're just like sitting cross-legged on towels in my office. So you and I work together. Mm-hmm. We co-founded Kion. You're now the COO of the company. You're running the day-to-day in Boulder. And I want to talk a little bit about that, about how you're actually building a healthy company culture. But before we do that, I also want to just learn a little bit more, after you having been through religious studies and grown up in a hippie home and done visualization and manifestation and, used drugs in high school, and now you're immersed in the health and the supplement industry, and now, heavily influenced by weird guys in spandex like me. Like, what's your actual daily routine look like? Like when you wake up in the morning, like what's a day in the life of just like you working on your own body and brain look like?
I would say that there's a few things. One is that the daily, weekly, quarterly, and annual kind of all go together for me, and they really support each other. But on the daily, it really looks like pretty consistently, since having children, it's trying to go to sleep at the same time my kids go to sleep. Because what I found is that I really need alone time, and I need alone time at hours that are like either late at night or early in the day. And I do worse late at night. Like late at night works if I'm in like some kind of really powerful manic creative phase where I'm just like fueled, but on a consistent basis, I just don't do really productive stuff at night. So
I found the same thing. I'll be sitting around at night. It'll be 9 p.m. and there'll be a lot of things one could do, right? Like everybody's telling me you got to watch Breaking Bad, or you got to watch, this or that on Netflix, or, there's this magazine that I should read because my cognitive power has gone down at night. And I've realized the same thing. Like, not a lot of productive things happen at night. Like, that's when you party, that's when you watch TV, that's when you drink, whatever the case may be. And I've fallen upon the same thing. Like, when the kids go to bed, I grab books and go to bed, or go make love and fall asleep. And like literally within 20, 30 minutes after my kids are asleep, I'm out, and it's enormously productive.
Yeah, it's like, that's probably the biggest game changer. If there was anything I could tell someone, it would just be go to sleep earlier. At least for me, that's what works.
Yeah, for us, we were talking about this, though. We were playing golf this morning. There's some people, like we have tech people on our team who stay up late, or who sometimes seem sleep deprived when we have our morning team huddles. And it's like, you kind of want those people too. You want the night owls, the people who actually do get shit done at night. And, we could get into, Michael Bruce's book about circadian rhythms and how different people are wired to operate well at different times of day. But I think painting with a broad brush, and I think there's actually a percentage, is like 60 to 70% of the population. It's like, go to bed sometime between 9 and 10, get up sometime between 5 and 6, and like life is going to get pretty good from a productivity standpoint. Yeah.
And so for me personally, I try to go to bed, actually it's like closer to 8. And when I do that, I feel like I need less sleep, and I can wake up around, I probably don't actually go to bed around 8. I'm probably like actually asleep around 9. I can wake up around 3:30 or 4. And then when I do that,
you're up pretty early.
If I go to sleep that early, then I can. If I go to sleep at like 10, then suddenly I need to go to sleep. I need to wake up at like 7 or something. It's really weird. Like there's something that shifts. Yeah. But yeah, and then it's really just immediately drink water. Like just drink 2 glasses of water. Because if I don't drink 2 glasses of water, like then it kind of starts off my whole day weird. And then I drink an Americano. I always drink espresso. I have an espresso machine in my house. You know that. And then I go like straight to reading. I read some type of like spiritual or emotional development type text. And I guess when I say spiritual, what I just mean is something that that recontextualizes all of life. It's not just about like work or obligations or family or body or any of these things. It's about like that puts life in a bigger perspective.
Yeah.
And then journaling. And then some type of exercise. The exercise, if I know I'm going to have like an exercise later in the day, and I know I'm going to have time for a bigger exercise later in the day, then just like something really chill. Like it could be like just like hang from my pull-up bar, do stretching to some music, do some yoga. If I don't think I'm going to have time for exercise later in the day.
That old used stationary bicycle in your garage that I crush whenever I visit you.
I've literally, that's what I do. If I feel like I don't, I can actually just do like a chill ride in the morning too, and like be like, I kind of cheat then actually to like get on my phone and like do some work while I'm riding the bike.
It's kind of funny because I'm working as like this virtual CEO, right? Like doing a lot virtually with our team. But when I go on my monthly visits to Boulder, for those of you listening in, I'm not saying the Ritz-Carlton in Boulder. Like I'm crashing in Angelo's grandma's bedroom at
my mother, the room where my mother-in-law stays.
Yeah, the room where his mother-in-law stays in his house, and literally, like I go out to your garage and work out on your used bike with the old kettlebell, and sometimes I got my X3 bar or whatever with me, and crush it in there, in your tiny little garage, or go to the park across the street from your house, but. Yeah, and a lot of times we'll do these little workouts together. It's kind of fun. Yeah, it's amazing how good of a workout you can get without a frisbee golf course.
I know, without a frisbee golf course. Yeah. So if I don't have time, I just try to make myself I don't have. I mean, it's an embarrassing thing in terms of like if I try to get too complex about my workouts and like study it in too much depth, it kind of turns me off and I don't get into it. So I either do something chill or I do something like just really hard where it makes me feel like I want to throw up. So I just do like sprints on the bike to pull-ups to push-ups to kettlebell swings to squats. I just do like simple stuff and I just do it hard.
How are you journaling, by the way, before you get into that exercise routine?
I have multiple different journals, and so I have. I like doing visual stuff a lot. So I like doing mind maps where it's like just a big white page. Mm-hmm. So I have journals that are more set up for that, and then I also have like lined journals. And I have a lot of different types of prompts that I do around it. But this was going to be like the weekly, quarterly, monthly thing. What I found over time is, for the longest time, I wanted to try to train myself to be like those people, honestly, like someone like you, who will get up and do like the certain exercise regimen or whatever my story is about you. I'm not going to say you're that, but like, and there's other people on our Kion team that like literally will just like do these 2-a-day workouts, and they like do it in this very precise way, and they're super disciplined. It's like, I have to be more in this like flow. Mm-hmm. And so what I've found is like, what's the container or like the boundaries for me to where I can think or feel like I'm in a flow, but I'm still being productive and moving things forward. So I've developed like these binders that are for different aspects of my life, where I have done really deep visualization and design and strategy work around like how I'm going to manifest something in my life. And I always come back to those binders every week, sometimes every day. And then I use those as ways to prompt my journaling. So less than it being like, I'm going to do the same gratitude journaling every single day. It's like every single week I need to be having these really deeper check-ins with myself about where I'm at in my life, how it's all kind of falling into place or not, and what I need to reset. And then I use that as the guide for my daily work. So I can't just like stop journaling forever, but I don't have to maintain the same thing every single day.
I think that's really important because, like I've got like the Christian gratitude journal that I write in every morning. And there's some mornings when I wake up and I'm like, I feel like this is a morning where I should be like, whatever, writing down 10 amazing new ideas, or reflecting upon, like a Benjamin Franklin-esque, what good have I done in the world this week? Or what good shall I accomplish this day? Or different forms of journaling. And for me, you're correct. I mean, you've identified me properly as that person who is pretty rigid in my routines and my habits. But I really like that idea of giving yourself permission. Let's say you do have a daily journaling habit, of being open to other methods of journaling and not necessarily thinking you got to journal the same way, 24/7, 365.
Yeah, I think it's just finding, I guess it's this kind of like minimalist approach again for me, just show up and journal. Mm-hmm. Like if I can keep it that simple, and then I can feel like there's freedom for how I express myself in it, then I'm much more likely to do it.
Yeah,
I will do it. I just keep doing it because I feel like I get to be myself in it. I think the important balance or trick in that is that I have to ensure that I'm doing those weekly check-ins and quarterly and more in-depth annual retreats, as well as making sure that the influence on me daily is a positive influence with good ideas. Because otherwise I could kind of get stuck in a rut. It's like, I think that's the thing. It's like if you find a good thing, like you find a Christian gratitude journal, and that works for you, then there's an element to just keeping it super simple and just do that every single day. And you even if you don't like it some days, you just keep doing it. Whereas if you kind of let yourself do whatever you want to do, you could get influenced by just kind of like lame ideas, start watching the news too much. And then like your journaling is going to be about like just not deep stuff. So I think it's really important to make sure that you have, or I have, really positive influences about personal development, about thinking and visualization that support me in like journaling about the right things.
Yeah. What happens after your exercise session?
I take a shower, and then I just get into it with the kids and
cold
my
shower.
wife. Yeah, I do alternating cold and warm.
Your shower's freaking cold in Boulder.
It's really cold. Well, in the summers, I do just like straight cold.
Yeah.
But in the winters,
cold.
I do literally get ice cream headache within 3 seconds. It's so freaking cold.
I was telling you my strategy, like when I'm at your house with my cold showers, I'll do like 20 seconds on the head, then turn 20 seconds left armpit, then right armpit, then the upper back, then the crotch. And you just kind of like do circles. But every time you hit the head, you can only last like 10, 20 seconds. And like that will allow, because a lot of times I'll do like a 2 to 4 minutes sometimes 5-minute cold shower, but I'm always turning in circles, hitting different parts of my body. It kind of makes time go by too, because you like count down facing forward, then count down facing the left and the back. Just keep on going around.
I first got turned on to cold showers when I took this Kundalini yoga class at college, actually. I must have been like 20. And I don't know how this teacher got it accepted, but he like taught yoga, and it was basically like just Kundalini yoga for a whole semester with like all these college kids. And we had to go through like whatever the main Kundalini like script was. And it was cold showers. We had to do mandatory cold showers, but they taught you to like yell Wahe Guru, which is like it's some God thing. I don't remember what it means. And I got to do that, and I still do that. Where like I don't yell it if it's early in the morning, but I'll be like, "Why, girl?" Like somehow doing. I don't even know what it means, but it's like my little habit.
I don't know.
To
You're
inspire
probably
me.
offending your neighbors.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
Hopefully, all of our Sikh friends out there, they know what it means.
Yeah, we're probably getting laughed at right now. You're probably pronouncing it wrong. So, at what point do you head into the giant Kion skyscraper downtown?
It's actually not a giant skyscraper, but it is a cool. We have a cool office. It's
pretty cool.
It's like a tree house, and you haven't been back since we got all the plants hanging. There's like really cool hanging plants everywhere now.
Yeah.
I'm typically there by 9, sometimes earlier and sometimes later. But everyone's there. Like everyone's supposed to be there at 9.
Yeah, our offices are really cool. I mean, we've got like stand-up workstations now, and there's like the Juve photo biomodulation panels where you got to be careful when you walk in the room because you don't know who's going to be like half naked in front of a light panel. And we've got all like the special coffee superfoods to blend up with our Kion coffee, and the nice blenders that you can put all sorts of stuff into, and a whole
saddle chairs, Terra mats,
kettlebells,
kettlebells.
Yeah, like it's pretty cool. Like how, and I really like that part of company culture. It's almost like we're sitting here in my office right now with the walking treadmill and the Juve lamp and the stool and all the different things that I use, the fluid stance balance boards, all that stuff. And I just really like being able to walk into our offices and see it's almost like a little playground, right?
Yeah.
I think we need to add some like rings and pull-up bars and
this
stuff
week,
for it's called brachiation is the technical term for it, like hanging from stuff.
This week we're going to have the rings, the pull-up bar, and the yoga swing installed.
Yeah.
Which is good because we have like a pull-up competition basically this year.
Yeah.
I set it as my own personal physical goal, and then Caitlin, our like HR manager, did it too. And now it's like everyone.
Yeah,
we're all trying.
So if you're listening in and you're like a Kion customer, ordering your bars, your coffee, your Flex, whatever the case may be, and customer support just goes to shit, and you're not able to get a hold of everybody, it's because our entire office is like hanging from yoga swings, and
they're literally doing a Pomodoro break. And actually, customer service, Mike and Kim are like, and now Bella, Brandon, they're like Bella and Brandon, they're like the leaders of making sure breaks happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, how many employees are in that office on typical?
Just under 20 now. Yeah. So it's gone like pretty darn fast from like none.
Yeah.
To like,
and that doesn't
20.
count all the virtual employees and folks working
and contractors and other folks. Yeah.
Yeah. Which brings it to I think significantly more than 30 people.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You include all the contractors too. I mean, if there's
So one big thing about managing and juggling all those people is the company culture. And I know you're big on that. I mean, as somebody who you've already talked about, loves to study humans and the way they operate, the way they tick, and how humans stay happy. How do you what are some of the just like the boots on the ground strategies that you use to maintain good, healthy company culture?
I want to answer your question about like boots on the ground strategies. I also think that it's important to name that it's more than just strategies or tactics. It really is a mindset about what we're doing. And everyone that we hire and the company as a whole, we're all passionate about supplements, and we're passionate about health, and we're passionate about the bars. What?
Enemas.
We're not as passionate about enemas as Ben, but yes, we all
don't drink out of the stainless steel buckets at the Kion offices.
That said, there's a really healthy balance of just coming back to the human thing. We're just a group of humans that were born into this life and are trying to enjoy our life, have beautiful and healthy relationships with the people around us, and be good people, whether that's with Kion or not with Kion. And so it should be, if we really want to honor that and we really want to help people, empower people to live the most joyful, fulfilling, adventurous lives, that we really hold that and believe that day to day. So it's not like, hey, how can we do cool team stuff to make sure everyone's like happy and the culture is good? It's not like a strategy to get the culture good. It's like being rooted in that belief. And I think the other big part about being rooted in that belief is that, I'll just speak for myself on this. I think oftentimes when people communicate with each other, they think that they're just communicating. And I really got this from the behavioral healthcare company I worked with. And actually a really interesting book. I think his name's Paul Geltner. He wrote this book called Emotional Communication. And it's like for therapists. It's like on like transference and psychoanalysis. But it's all about that. Oftentimes people think they're only giving cognitive communication. Like I'm communicating a set of ideas to you right now. But actually, every single time we're relating to someone, we're both wanting to communicate ideas cognitively that the other person will associate to and then be able to like have a conversation back with us. We're also communicating an emotion. Always communicating an emotion. And we're trying to induce in the other person some type of emotional experience in the same way that we're trying to like induce a thought in them and get the thinking back and forth. And so I hold that really dear, and I really believe that. And so when I think about what we're doing with people all the time, like anytime that there's an initiative or we're going to communicate something about what we're doing or why we're doing it, just knowing that like the whole group all the time are having an emotional experience and we're feeding off each other. And the way, and as conscious as we can be about that, the better the culture we can have. And so when we are hiring people, I've gotten feedback from our last couple of hires to like marketing director and the EA. They're like, whoa, dude, that was like a lot of interviews. I don't know. They went through like 7, 8 interviews. We really don't just try to understand what someone's skills are and what their abilities are. We want to be 100% confident and clear that that person will be able to understand when they are communicating something emotionally to someone else, frustration, fear, happiness, joy, and be able to realize it and name it and be clear about it and not have like drama or other garbage or just a lack of self-awareness about what they're actually feeling, what the other person's feeling. Because if that is not the case, then we're going to spend all this time trying to talk about like business planning and like objectives, but people are having this whole emotional experience with each other.
So it almost sounds to me like a blend of like empathy and radical honesty.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I mean, it's like really being able to sense what's going on with someone else and be really clear and honest about what's going on with you. But also people just have to be able to like tell what's going on with them. So I think at the base, like that's the key. It's like making sure that we have that fundamentally with the team. And then it's finding tools and strategies and tactics that like support that. And so, you know, we have, I don't know how unique they are. I mean, we got many ideas from other people. I brought a technique that I had at the last company I was at where we begin meetings with a moment of silence. And so every single day at our daily huddle, so we also have a daily huddle, we start with 3 minutes of silence.
Daily huddles, all the people in the office are gathered around. Everyone who's virtually is called in, you know, via Zoom line. We got video, we got audio, and everybody's gathered around at the beginning of the day, 9:45 a.m.
We start with 3 minutes of silence.
Yeah.
So everyone basically starts, and it can be meditation, it can be breath work, it can be stretching, but we all start in silence together just to like get into ourselves. And it's really cool. More recently, we moved into a different person leads every day. And then we just check in about what's going on that day, what our objectives are. But we also regularly check in about emotional things or self-care, like just making sure people are looking out for themselves and taking care of themselves.
Yeah. And so many companies don't do that. I mean, what really the light bulb went on for me when I interviewed Todd White of Dry Farm Wines, and also went down to their offices and took part in their morning company culture. You know, which is like, you know, they start off with Wim Hof breathing and then silence and sometimes like I remember when I went down there, we were like gathered on a table for a good half hour, just like doing breath work and meditation to start off the day, and then gratitude. And then everyone went around there, the warehouse workers and the IT people and the tech people and the CEO and everybody just sharing what it was that they were grateful for that day. And granted, like it was pretty long. Like I think our 15-minute daily huddles are almost more palatable because like I got to a certain part where I was like, wow, I'm gonna go get stuff done. But I'll link, by the way, in the show notes to my interview with Todd White, where we detail in pretty good detail about how they built that company and their company culture. But yeah, this idea of starting off the day with some form of meditation or mindfulness or coming together and gratitude. And it's beyond just like a business building meeting, but is instead, instead involves, what are you grateful for today? What are you grateful for yesterday? What'd you do to take care of your mind today, or your body, or your spirit? What's one thing that you're excited about this weekend? And sure, we also talk about our personal rocks and our big accomplishments for the day.
And personal rocks are like our goals, objectives.
Yeah, our goals, our objectives. But yeah, I mean, that 15-minute daily huddle, I think is huge.
Yeah, and so we, like you said, we alternate between things like expressing gratitude, shout outs for other team members, lots of good stuff. It really creates an awesome bond between the whole team, or among the whole team. We do monthly team retreats, and an annual, or monthly team adventures and an annual retreats. The monthly team adventures are really fun. Like, I actually missed the last one, but we had one of the Kion coaches flew down. Everyone went and he's like a professional.
The Kion coach is meaning someone who's been through my multi-week certification program.
Yeah, like half a year certification
it's
program.
half a year. It's like 27 weeks. And then then there's continuing ed. Like after you learn about all the different elements of body, mind, and spirit optimization. And it's a pretty intense physiology and even like, pharmaceuticals and biochemistry and biomechanics. Then we also have guests come in. Like our last guest was Dr. Mercola came in and talked about mitochondria. Before that, Garrett Gunderson came in and talked about like how to build your finances and your business. So it's like this whole coach certification program. But you had one of the coaches actually come in who
happens to be. We have the initial group of coaches that went to that program, they're like really cool, talented, amazing people. One of them happens to be a professional snowboarding coach. He flew down. Our whole team went out and did a day of snowboarding with personalized coaching.
So just sometimes it sucks being a virtual CEO. I'm jealous.
There's whitewater rafting. Like next month, we've done archery. We've done. Last one you were around for was when we did that big snow hike, which was super fun. Yeah. So we just get out and and take a Friday once a month to just enjoy each other together and do something cool and push each other to do something fun.
That's one of my favorite parts about Kion too, is like people drink the Kool-Aid. Like we did the snow hike, but half the guys had their shirts off doing their cryotherapy as they're hiking. And it's like, you just got this team of employees marching through the woods, in the frigid wilderness with our shirts off. And I think that's a huge part of Kion. Those of you listening in, like when you're talking to a customer support person or you're ordering a supplement, all our employees are out using this stuff, trying it, experimenting with it, doing all the stuff that you hear me talk about, from, fasting to cold thermogenesis to like, we're trying at Kion to live what it is that we're saying. And I think that's a big part of creating not just a quality company culture, but also quality products, is like people are actually using them,
our team, we believe in it. We're all doing it because we believe in it. It's funny, I got almost like nervous for a second. I was talking about all this kind of like woo-woo cultural stuff. And I can imagine listeners who maybe more like business oriented, like, yeah, sure. Like you do all that, but like, are you making money? It's like, man, we're running a good business. Yeah. It's a profitable business. It's growing well. We have super sustainable month over month growth. Yeah. We're not trying to grow too fast, but we're growing well and solid. And we also have like a really disciplined approach to cash, that we don't put money into things that we have to take risks sometimes, but we put money into the right things. But it's also out of it's out of respect for our whole team too. Like we're not trying to go on some big, we're not trying to have like this woo-woo cultural thing and just have some like big dreamy vision and only do that. It's like, be disciplined business people. Treat employees really well and build a culture where people really like being together and they actually take care of themselves. And the other big thing is like people go on walks. I don't know, 3 times a day. People are like calling each other to go on like walks down by the creek. Yeah. While also trying to go after this big vision. Like you can do all these things at once. You really can. Right. And it's been really fruitful for us.
And I think it's important you bring that up too, because like a lot of people like, why can't I buy my Kion Flex at Whole Foods? Why can't I get Kion amino acids? I'm in London or in Sydney. And it's because we're building a high quality company. And we'll go wholesale retail. Yeah, we'll have an international presence. And yeah, we're rolling out over the next calendar year, like 3 new amazing formulations that we have to kind of hold close to our chest. But we have some really, really cool stuff that we're developing. But, part of building a really quality company, and I think this is something people don't realize, like, you have to scale an amazing team of employees who speak our language and
that is the hardest thing.
Amazing people. You can't just like hire, 6 new people so that we can go wholesale retail in 3 months, because a lot of times, not only the customer service just goes to pot, but just like the employee culture just degrades. And like, we want healthy, happy humans at Kion, who are able to create something great so that people can experience, our products over the world and at their grocery store. But it's a slow build to be able to do that and do it well.
That really is it. It's to do it well. Like, you have to be disciplined and focused, not try to do too many things at once. And the biggest thing is the people.
Yeah.
Like, that's the biggest challenge, is how to, again, as I described, we're going through like 7 interviews with people. Like, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time to build a team intelligently. And I think that's the other thing too. It's like, in terms of culture, team, like, you can say you have a team approach, but do you really have a team approach? And what is a team approach? I mean, I just quickly go to the metaphors of like large team sports, whether it's like a football team or a basketball team or a band, like a big band. Everyone's playing a musical band, which I think is similar as well. Everyone's playing a distinct role, and they need to do their role really well, and they need to listen to everyone else. They need to watch everyone else. They need to be like sensitive to, and like you said, empathic to what's going on with the other players, so that you can all like move in unison together. So you don't just like throw 6 new people on the field. You don't just like throw 6 new, musicians in the band and just assume like everything's going to be the same. Yeah. It's like, no, you gotta.
Oh, you'll be all over the place, and then you'll grow fast, and then you'll turn into just a horrible customer service and crappy products. Mm-hmm. So, speaking of crappy products, I know that you, after kind of getting thrust into the role as being the COO and even the co-founder of Kion, I mean, you own a significant percentage of the company. You've been really getting exposed to like the health and the supplements industry, traveling around all these, Expo West and all the places that I kind of avoid and send you to in my stead. What are some of the biggest trends that you've seen for better or worse in the health and supplements industry?
I mean, there's really obvious ones within our field. I mean, you just see like,
keto donuts.
Keto. Yes. I mean, keto everything, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see someone like you, right, who I think was an early embracer and spokesperson for keto, defined as keto, really.
2012.
Yeah.
When I started using that for endurance sports.
Yeah.
Ben Greenfield tried.blogspot.com.
Was it really still that?
I should actually add that to the show notes. Yeah, I will right now.
So I mean, there's these kind of like obvious things like that, and I think other things that listeners to the show are aware of. I mean, like bigger moves around longevity focus, personalization of diet and supplementation. What I think is most interesting is the personalization aspect. The degree to which you can get more information about your unique body and your unique behaviors, and how new behaviors and new diet and new supplements could specifically help you to have a different experience. I mean, that's the most.
Although, admittedly, it's pretty Mickey Mouse right now. Like
it is.
Yeah, I got an email the other day, from somebody that's like, "Oh, we have this new company. We're completely customizing and personalizing, everything, based on your genetics and your labs, and it's like a little vitamin dispenser that like gives you your vitamins based on your labs." But it's so difficult because things fluctuate so rapidly. It's not scalable at this point, so it's very expensive. And there's also there's not a lot of long-term human clinical studies on it as well. Like yeah, sure, maybe you do have the genes responsible for low vitamin D absorption from the sun, and therefore you fall into the vitamin D supplementation category. But where's the research that shows that, or your microbiome is deficient in X, Y, and Z probiotic, therefore you should take these specific probiotic strains? Like, it's tricky, and it's also, again, it's not super scalable at this point.
And it's not. I mean, yeah, I'm glad you kind of segued into this. I think it's what's most exciting, and it's not really here yet.
Yeah.
And so, similarly, like for us, it's like, how does a company and I don't mean to bring it back to us, it's just the most real way I can talk about, like for Kion to work within this field and try to offer people something like this, because the solutions out there, the partners that we could work with potentially to do things like this, it's just like you said, it's kind of Mickey Mouse. Like, we could package it and put it all together and tell you that's what's happening, but it's not really. We're selling you a story.
Yeah.
But what we can do,
it's sexy. It's a sexy story. And sorry to interrupt, but I would rather, and this is what we're doing with a lot of our new formulations, I'd rather say, what makes a human body, no matter what human body it is, what do we know enhances mitochondrial biogenesis and mitochondrial health in every human, regardless of their genetics or their microbiome? What lowers postprandial blood sugar after consuming a carbohydrate-rich meal in every human? I don't care who you are. And then creating products that paint with a very broad brush using the highest quality compounds that we've researched. And I mean, we do a ton of, one of our formulations that we're working on right now, it's been almost 2 years that we've been working on getting the perfect mix of ingredients. But when we roll it out, I mean, that will be, almost in the words of Ryan Holiday, in his book about books, it'll be a perennial bestseller because it's something that just freaking works for everybody, for blood sugar control. And we've got another one, working on for longevity. And I'd rather take that approach. And yeah, maybe 5 years from now, complete customization, personalization will be affordable and research proven and scalable. But what I'm passionate about right now is just creating products that work for everybody.
So, and I feel like the approach at Kion that we've been trying to take to this, interest in this type of personalization, is on the content side. So anyone that was around and got exposed to, for example, the fasting challenge at the beginning of the year, rather than saying everyone should fast in this way, and this is the only way to fast, and this is the right solution for everyone, everyone must do keto. If you eat any carbs, then you are a bad person. This kind of just super straight story that this is the only story for everyone. It's not. People have different goals and different interests and different body types. And so we tried in that we did a fasting challenge at the beginning of the year and did a fasting guide. And I honestly hadn't seen anything like it before, that just broke down all the different types of fasting options and why they were unique and why they would fit you and your body and what you might want to do right now. And then encourage people to join us in our community to participate in whatever form they wanted to do as part of it. And then us as our team, again, we weren't all doing the exact same type, and we did different types that worked for what worked for us that week. Maybe we were busy. Maybe we couldn't do a non-caloric 5-day fast because we were concerned we couldn't maintain it. Or someone was training for something. So they needed they needed some calories. So we, I think there's still an element to, and this is what I'm most interested in. And I think I feel proud of what we're doing, is not trying to tell people one story. You must drink your coffee like this. You must never eat this thing. It's hey, these are the different, this is what's going to happen for certain people if they eat these foods. And you should pay attention to and try to understand yourself better. There's a great article on Kion. You have a video about it. I can't remember there's I can't remember. We ended up rechanging the name because it was F diets. But whatever it is, just really breaks down how people can analyze what diet's really best for them.
How to customize your diet to you. And I think that's and again, I don't want to sit around and bore people talking about our own Kool-Aid, but that really is a big thing I want to be able to give people, is content that is digestible and is able to be adjusted and customized to everybody regardless of their level. Like, I have a big new book. It's 600 pages. It's all scientific research. It's the kind of thing that a physician could go through and learn something from every page, but at the same time, something that somebody from the lay public who is genuinely and very much passionate about their health could go through and also just get a ton of takeaways from. But along with that book, when it launches, like, we've got at Kion, like, all the little pieces of that in tiny digestible formats. You know, we're making content that will come along with that really allows anybody to dive in at any level and get content that's I think very, very easy to understand. And that's what I'm excited about too, is not just scaling our supplements to all levels, but also our content. So.
And just last plug for the supplements, as you said before, about the kind of coming up with formulations that really work that would create the same effect basically in everyone. Mm-hmm. Again, empowering people with the information and the knowledge to know why they might do something at a deeper level. And they can be really thoughtful about when, why, and how they're going to invest their money in improving their health versus feeling like the pressure, like they just have to do this fad because everyone else is doing it. And it's like, what are your priorities? Is it more longevity focused? Is it more like weight loss focused? How can you balance these different priorities in a way that makes sense for you and your life? And I think all companies that are in the health sphere can do a better job of that, even if we don't have the technology to like analyze someone's genome and microbiome and all that and offer the perfect thing for them right now. There's still good work that we can do right now. The other really big thing I've noticed within being in this industry is just how hard, if you're on the brand side, like we are, coming up with ideas and formulations and making finished products for people, how hard you have to fight on the supply chain and on the manufacturing side to really get an awesome product.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't realize.
It is like not, I mean, you have to be, the kind of feedback that we get from vendors and partners is like, gosh, like really, I have to give you all that information. And like, it's like we are, and there's other brands out there like this too. We're like annoying to these vendors because we've just found like if you don't examine all these certificates of analysis and push for like where this ingredient come from,
and
like
it comes back to bite you too. Like if you go to a supplement website and there's a product that's every single product is in stock and everything's available, there's probably something wrong. Like they probably have access to some pretty shitty ingredients and they're just like filling bottles up because nothing ever goes out of stock. Like there's no high quality raw ingredients that you ever just can't get your hands on because it's like not available seasonally at the moment or whatever. Like that's one thing that frustrates me is like, I want all our products to be in stock all the time, but it's like, no, the goats are not making colostrum right now. We're sorry. This product's out of stock. Like the goats are out right now. So, I mean, just little things like that, you know, that are frustrating, but that are part of running a high quality company. And, you know, at the risk of the comments I know we're going to get on this podcast already, you know, was this the Kion commercial podcast? Which it totally is. It's really, you know, I wanted you guys to get to know some of the faces behind the company.
And, let's talk about Angelo more.
I want to actually, I know we're running up on time here pretty soon, but I'm very intrigued about like the musical and the creative aspects of you. You know, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever. Like, do you see yourself going places with music or continuing anything else? You know, aside from Kion, of course. You know, assuming get fired from the company, you know, are you gonna keep with the music or whatever, write an album or anything like that? Like, where do you envision yourself in that respect?
Yeah, for sure, man. So I mean, I guess I stopped making as much music when I moved overseas, and then once I moved back to the U.S. and started having kids, it was like kind of taxing. But of late, I've been making a lot more music and writing a lot of music and. I just love it, man. And I've been getting cool feedback from people about like, hey man, I'm like waiting for when you're going to make your next Instagram post, you know? So, I'm like really stoked about it. And I think that, the most exciting thing I have on plan right now is like a one-man show where it's, music and visuals and, like creative comedic monologue all mixed together.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah, so that'll be in the fall. So I'm
This
stoked.
fall. So fall of at the time of this recording, 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm stoked about that. And I'll be doing a lot, man. I'm excited. And who knows, man, maybe you and I will have some type of unique performance coming up that people will find out about.
This podcast might get released after that fact, but yeah, Angelo and I have some cool things in the works that, well, either way, we've got some stuff we're going to be doing together in the music department that it might come out after this pod or before this podcast is released, but we'll record it for you and put it up over at getkion.com, which is where you can not only learn more about Angelo, but you're on Instagram, etc. I know you have angelokeely.com. Is that a good place for people to just go check you out?
Yeah, for sure.
Kelly. I'll link to that too. So I'll just link to everything. Go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/Angelo. And that's where I'll link to, where I was in the hot seat and Angelo interviewed me about the initial vision for Kion and how it got founded. And then I'll link to some of the books that we talked about, as well as, like my interview with Todd White of Dry Farm Wines and the Kion U coach certification program. I'll do a pretty good job putting together show notes for you guys. And in the meantime, we are about to take our families down into downtown Spokane and show them the gondola and the Spokane River and Riverfront Park. And then my executive assistant who keeps my life sane, Penny, she's coming to the house tonight. She's going to babysit the kids, and Angelo and Carrie and Jess and I are going to go out in the town and have a cocktail and go to my favorite restaurant here. Shout out to Wild Sage Restaurant. We're going to go eat some food at Wild Sage. So, thank you all for listening in and for getting to know a guy who's really, not only my main man at Kion, but also really becoming a good friend of mine and a guy I really appreciate and admire a lot, Angelo Keely. So, Angelo, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
All right, cool. You want to beatbox us out?
Sure, man.
Well, thanks for listening to today's show. You can grab all the show notes, the resources, pretty much everything that I mentioned over at bengreenfieldfitness.com, along with plenty of other goodies from me, including the highly helpful Ben Recommends page, which is a list of pretty much everything that I've ever recommended for hormones, sleep, digestion, fat loss, performance, and plenty more. Please also know that all the links, all the promo codes that I mentioned during this and every episode help to make this podcast happen and to generate income that enables me to keep bringing you this content every single week. So when you listen in, be sure to use the links in the show notes, use the promo codes that I generate, because that helps to float this thing and keep it coming to you each and every week.